Before you, Rikki is our board for both the Stanbic Group company as well as the bank. We'd like to hear what you're doing in Uganda because we would like to build our capability in renewable energy.
Thank you, Emma, for inviting me to today. Very daunting amongst all you bankers. I've just got back from COP28. My name's Rikki Verma. I'm the founder and CEO of Nexus Green, and we are by default now the largest solar company here in Uganda. We started our journey about 5 years ago with a small little project at the Kololo ceremonial ground.
How can we position ourselves as a bank to be able to take on that funding to solution for?
Nexus Green only deals directly with the manufacturers. We've really brought the costs down.
Does the solution come with carbon credit certification?
Any presentation we do, we actually show you your carbon credits and what you can do with those in terms of selling them and trading them and offsetting against what you're producing.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rikki from Nexus Green.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rikki. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Emma, for inviting me to today. Very daunting amongst all you bankers. I've just got back from COP28. My name's Rikki Verma. I'm the founder and CEO of Nexus Green, and we are by default now the largest solar company here in Uganda, which I'm very proud of. We started our journey about 5 years ago with a small little project at the Kololo ceremonial ground airstrip, putting 0.5 megawatts with batteries to prove the agenda that solar energy is a really good alternative to what is currently being used and to show consistency in solar energy. So I met the president in London, and you know, it was one of those things where you meet him, you shake his hand, you smile, you take a photo, and then it's like a conveyor belt, you just keep going. And for me, I don't know what happened to me that day. I thought, being an opportunist that I am, because I'm a glorified salesman, I thought, let me keep hold of his hand and talk about solar. And so everyone's freaking out in the room. I'm talking to His Excellency about solar, and I touched on the subject about how it can actually reduce costs on one side and increase productivity on the other. 6 months later, I just got married, and I get a phone call from State House, and they said, oh, the president wants you to come to Uganda and present to the cabinet, a bit like the board, you know, presenting to the board, right? And I was like, okay, so I tell my wife we're cancelling our honeymoon, and she's still, can I say, really pissed off to this day. And we did a really good job proving that, you know, going solar can reduce your cost, also maintain a consistency in energy during the day. You know, the problem with industries, especially as we just launched our C&I business, you know, people in industry, especially in manufacturing, constantly have these blips with the umeme, which has a massive knock-on effect on their production, because that blip recalibrates their factory machines for them to do the cycle all over again. And the person that is going to suffer is the end user, because someone's going to have to pay for that extra cost. We came up with a solution for a variety of things: solar irrigation, the C&I business, and then solar farms for the coffee industry here in Uganda. And it's proven to be successful. So 2 years ago, we were talking about solar irrigation for what they call peasant farming, you know, a community of farmers on 20 acres of land, and how do you get them to get 4 cycles of production using solar and what we will call the battery, which is essentially the tank to store the water to then use natural gravity to, you know, irrigate across the country. So we came up with this proposal, and then again, I found myself in front of His Excellency, and I said, you know, this is a great idea. And he says, you know, as he does, you go do it. You know, and I was like, okay, but who's going to pay for it, right? We approached UK Export Finance, And UK Export Finance is an ECA, obviously from the British government, and we successfully raised 101 million euros, which is the largest solar irrigation project in the whole of East Africa. Once it's finished next year, it will support 3.6% to the GDP of the country. So you can imagine how that's going to have on impact, employment, you know, the kind of yields they're doing. And then also what's really exciting, we're adding agronomy to it, which basically allows them to understand what to grow, when to grow it. So we're now doing really high value crops like avocado, coffee, macadamia. This project for me is really important, and it's been a catalyst for us. And then, so with that springboard, we've used that to like now look at the private sector, because everyone's like, Rikki, if you're going to do it for government, why don't you do it for the private sector? And we've had a couple of people approaching us throughout the year, but you know, because of capacity building, you know, we were limited. Now, from having 17 people last year and having over 120 people this year, you know, we've accelerated the company. Our trajectory growth every year is in the kind of like over 25 to 30% growth. It's absolutely wild. And, you know, we're really proud, obviously, having a branch here in Uganda. We're opening our second branch in January in Kenya and doing a copy and paste of what we're doing here. And so what I'm trying to pitch to you guys is to give EPC companies like us who are able to then do the EPCF part. Because every customer I've gone to says, Rikki, we want solar, right? And we're not talking about small solar. We're talking like 0.5 megawatts above. I have one client today who we've just signed 15 megawatts. It's a steel company. Companies like that, you know, they want solar, they've got the land, they want a cheap tariff, but they want consistency during the day. We've got these instruments. Now it's a case of how do you help companies like Nexus Green accelerate the agenda of green energy, doing your part as a bank to reduce the carbon footprint of your clients. You know, someone said, who is your competitor? Quite frankly, we don't have any anymore. So we're really proud of that. And I want to be with a bank that can now take me to the next stage, the next level in Nexus Green's career, because we're not going anywhere. We're investing $10 million next year in a manufacturing plant to actually start producing solar panels. It'll be the first of its kind anywhere in Africa, to be honest, on this scale. It'll produce 200,000 panels a year, and we'll be proud to say it's actually getting built here in Uganda and then exported to the neighbouring countries. And I'd love for Stanbic to be part of this journey with us. In a nutshell, guys, you know, solar is a very, very good opportunity, especially if you're looking to lend money to your clients. It's another way of lending money. We've got instruments to mitigate your risk. Nexus Green will support the 20% because we want to put the equity in our businesses, because a power purchase agreement for Nexus Green, I only hope that my message about renewable, about Nexus Green, has really taken some of yours attention. And how do we get your clients to convert? Even with Stanbic, we want to do your buildings. You should be the pioneer, because actually no other bank is looking at converting their buildings with solar just yet. So thank you so much for your time. I'll answer any questions if you have any questions. But again, let's go solar, let's go green.
Thank you very much, Rikki. Wow. Fantastic presentation by Rikki. How can we position ourselves as a bank to be able to take on that funding to solution for yourselves and more other entities that are pretty much doing something similar? I think that would be the first question.
My question is around the initial setup costs, and ideally they seem to be prohibitively high. How do you intend to manage those?
Essentially, yes. It looks relatively high when you quote for a system, but I mean, what we've done is, because Nexus Green only deals directly with the manufacturers, we've really brought the costs down. So that, you know, what we identified when we did our market research here in Uganda is there was a lot of profit on profit, because you'd have the manufacturer, then you'd have the importer, then you have the trader, then you have middlemen, and then you'd have the end user, right? So what we've done is simply gone straight B2B kind of style. So we went straight to the manufacturer. We have the capacity. So we became the exclusive distributors for Jinko Solar, which is the #1 solar company in the world. It's a tier 1 product, which Uganda's never seen before. You know your customer base, you know what the affordability levels are, you know what kind of incomes are coming. We as a company look at mitigating risk by going through their umeme bills and seeing if they're paying it on time. The price of solar today, if I was to tell you per panel, let's say, instead of it paying $200, which you would have paid a few months ago, from someone off the market, we're offering it to you at $100, right? So the price is constantly coming down because it's all about supply and demand. The more we buy, the better pricing we're getting. So we fixed already Q1 and Q2 pricing.
Does the solution come with carbon credit certification?
Any presentation we do, we actually show you your carbon credits and what you can do with those in terms of selling them and trading them and offsetting against what you're producing. So it's definitely something that we've put into the mix. It still has to have some more policy here in Uganda. Uganda still hasn't got a definitive policy, and it's something that we're working with the Ministry of Energy to really push in as an agenda to really harmonise what the carbon credit should look like. In terms of today, if you buy an outright system from Nexus Green, we put you in touch with HSBC in London in their carbon division, and they would start doing the trading for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rikki from Nexus Green.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rikki. We appreciate it.
It was an absolute privilege and honour to be invited. And yeah, I just wanted the bank to know what we're doing as Nexus Green and how they can support on the renewable sustainability agenda that Nexus Green is really trying to pioneer here in Uganda. There's a few banks like Stanbic who are very much innovators in this sector, and I think for me, partnering now at our capacity, I think the advice I could give is as you grow, doors open a lot easier, and you can get your message across. It's still an upward struggle, don't get me wrong, but I feel now we're really pushing the boat, and I hope the banks are taking renewable financing really, really serious, because people want to go green, and they have the opportunity to also provide the financing for people to go green and make it a bit more sustainable, reduce carbon emissions, and have consistency, because a lot of their clients, where they're on the grid during the day, there's a lot of issues of blackouts and inconsistency of the grid. So using solar during the day, I mean, we're in Uganda, but on the equator there's no shadowing, so it's perfect. Anyway, you take care, guys. I'll speak to you later. Cheers.